Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the localization settings. So we'll go from the back office here and click on localization. Now, localization is going to allow us to add different currencies, different languages, different states, different units for our PrestaShop store. So, for example, many of these items here, states, taxes, currencies, they could be added manually. But PrestaShop also makes it very easy to do it automatic by giving you this import a localization pack section. Now, for example, I would like to add all the states, taxes, currencies, languages, and units in Canada. So I'm going to go here and select Canada. States, taxes, currencies, languages, download pack data. Now, this option is going to allow us to either download the localization pack from PrestaShop.com. PrestaShop does upload and put these packs up online, so definitely they are very current. Or otherwise, if you'd like to use your own pack or your own XML file, you could do so by placing it in your localization folder on your PrestaShop installation root directory. So definitely we have that option. So I'm going to go ahead and import this pack and then show you how it was implemented and different things we have here. So for right now, and just in this section, I'm going to import this pack. Click on import and wait a couple of seconds. Okay, so right now it's just taking a little moment. It's downloading all the information that it needs from PrestaShop, so it could install it in the store. So definitely in just a moment, we'll go ahead and verify. So we see here that we have localization pack imported successfully. We'll go ahead and check languages. Okay, so I did have English and Spanish set on my store. But as you can see here, the localization pack for Canada also brings French, the French language. And the reason is because a large population in Canada do speak French. So definitely we have English already set and French set for Canada. And let's check on the currencies. So as you can see here, when we had the Spanish and English, we also had the dollar and the peso. But now that we've added the localization pack for Canada, we also have the Canadian dollar. So definitely we could see that it imported. We'll be going over these in just a moment. So next down the list, we have the configuration. Here we have the ability to set the language of our store. So this is the default language. Any language that you set here will be used as the default language when a visitor or customer returns to the site. Definitely, you also have the option to set language based on the browser settings. So even if you put, let's say, French, but the customer's browser is set to English, they will view the site in English. So keep in mind when you are setting this up that set language from browser does override the default language. Also here, let me just show you that very quickly. In the front office, you can see here we have the ability to change between the languages. So if we click, for example, French, you'll see that many of the elements did change to French. For example, this setting here, we have our cart in French, some of these menu options in French, and some of these other options, such as the product titles or the top menu. As you can see, it's still in English, but you will have the ability to change this later on. We'll go ahead and exit that out. We have the ability to add the default country. We also have the ability to set default country based from browser language. We have our default currency. So remember how we did add 3 different types of currencies? We have the ability to add the default one. So whatever the default one is, definitely the prices will be shown as such. We also have the time zone, so be sure to set that. We have some of the local units. For example, I'm going to use pounds. Sorry, I'm going to use pounds for the weight unit, so I'm going to change that to the pounds. section. Distance, we'll leave that at miles, liters, and inches. Language identifier, where we could identify, we could specify what is the language identifier based on the ISO. Be sure to read up or search on Wikipedia ISO language identifier so you could find the yours and the country identifier. Remember also to check up on Google or something like that, ISO country identifier, and I'll give you a list of all the identifiers. So next thing, we'll go ahead and take a look at the languages. As you can see, this was imported for us automatically. So definitely this is not something that we have to configure, but if in case you would like to configure it or modify it, you could also do so. If you want to add a new language, you could go to the top here and click add new, or we could click on edit. So for example, go ahead and click edit. We have the ability to change the name, the ISO code. Remember, if you did not use the import option, you could always find this information from Wikipedia or from Google. We have the option here is right to left language. So definitely if you're using Arabic or something like that, you could use this option to change the right to left or left to right. We have these zones. So these are the zones that our store is going to operate in Europe, North America, Asia, Africa, Oceania, etc. So definitely here we have the ability to enable them or disable them. If we click here on edit, we just have the ability also to change the name or to activate it or deactivate it. We also have some of the countries that are going to used for our source. So for example, since we did add Colombia as the import pack, it also enabled Colombia for us. But definitely it does have all the countries, so you could definitely go in there and enable all the countries that you want your store to be available in. We have our states. As you can see, we have all United States here enabled. If we look at our currencies, we also have the currencies that we're using for our shop. So definitely, once again, if you imported the pack, this will be done automatically. Um, else, you could always go in here and manually edit these. So for example, here you could change the currency format, such if you're using euros or dollars. We have the numeric ISO code. Now we'll go to taxes. Now for taxes, we have the ability to add a new tax. So as you can see here, we have two different options. We have taxes and tax rules. So for taxes, all we have to do is specify the new tax. Remember, the import pack does bring in all the current tax rules for that country. So definitely this will not be, you won't need to do this if you do import the pack. But just in case you do want to add your own taxes, you could go here. For example, we're going to put Florida example tax. And the rate is going to be about 10%. So we'll just go ahead and leave that at 10. And we'll enable that. So yes, this is going to be enabled. We'll set that up later. So if we go all the way to the bottom here, we're just going to show 100. And as you could see, now we have my Florida example tax and is a 10%. Now, these on the top here were added by the pack. So this one is a Canada tax just for all of Canada. Now, these are for all the provinces that are in Canada. This one's for Colombia. So definitely here in the bottom section, we also have some tax options. And these tax options include the ability to enable tax, to display tax in the shopping cart. We have the ability to base tax on delivery address, and also the ability to use eco tax. Remember, once again, if you have any questions, you could always refer to this help button here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the tax rules. So for example, here we have a couple of tax rules. I'm just going to show you a quick example. So we did import the Canadian pack. So the Canadian pack went ahead and created the tax rules for us. We'll go ahead and take a look at that one. So for all these tax rules, we have one for just for Canada in general, and then we have one for all the provinces such as British Columbia, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and such. So, for example, if a customer just visits our site and they're a visitor, they haven't specified any location, definitely the the program doesn't know what state they are in. However, since your default country, let's say, is Canada, then if they do want to look at the tax options and you enable them to, they will be able to see a 5% tax. However, they do go ahead and create an account and they specify their state, then they could go ahead and get a more accurate type of tax. So definitely, let's say they are from Quebec or something like this, they're going to see that 9.975 tax on the products. And remember that this is if you enable them to view taxes. So definitely that's also very flexible. The last thing on the localization we have is the the ability to change the translation for our shop. Once again, many of these options are set up automatically by the localization pack. If you do decide to download those, they're pretty great. However, you always have that ability to go ahead and edit or modify any of those options. So for example, if you look over here, we're going to go to my front office and we have the following languages. We have English, Spanish, French. We'll go right now we have it set to French. Now, even though many of our elements did change to French, we notice that we have still some options that haven't changed. We have women, we have dresses, we have t-shirts. All these options haven't exactly been translated. So what we got to do here is go to the modify translation section. So for example, we're going to look for front office translations, although we have the ability to edit email templates, PDF translations, modules that have been installed that might have a certain type of text that shows in one language. You have the ability to change that text, field name translations, error messages. So we'll go ahead and change front office translations. You go ahead and select the theme. I'll select Bootstrap and select the language. So I'll select French. Go ahead and click on Modify. And as you can see here, now we could edit any of the following. Just click on here to expand it. Now these give us a general meaning of which one each one is going to modify. For example, the 404 is the error that shows up on your page when something is not visible. So for example, I'll show you an example. Let's go ahead and view the front of the shop and we'll type in something that probably does not exist. So as you can see here in French, we have page, I can't really read that, but we have this text here. This comes out in French. But for example, for any reason you wanted to change that translation, you could always do here. So this page is not available is the English equivalent. And then we want to change it to something else. Let's say bonjour. And then something that would be along the lines of this page is not available. So we'll go ahead and click save and stay. And if we refresh that page, we're going to notice that we now have bonjour. So definitely you could go ahead and modify and translate any of the elements in your store. So that's definitely very, very great. We'll go back here to translations. You also have the ability to add or update a language. So definitely if it's been a while and you've noticed that maybe some of the things were missing or you might have changed some things and you just want to update or add the language, you could do so from here. Um, you also have the ability to import a language pack. So if you did download a language pack that by any chance was not in the options from PrestaShop, you could also do so from this section. You could just place the file or add the file from your computer, select the theme you want to install it in, and just click import. By any chance, you could also export any language for any reason. You would like to maybe install it in another store and you've already translated a couple of things, or you want to have a test site. You could always go ahead and export your language or make a copy. Now, there's another one thing that I want to show you regarding translations, and it's going to be how to translate different sections. For example, these images. So these images you're not going to be able to translate from, let's say, your modified translation section. So we'll go ahead and do the following. We'll go ahead and click on modules and services. Now, the modules and services is going to be the section which is going to allow us to handle or modify different elements of our store. So for example, this right over here, this slider belongs to the home slider module. So we'll go to the module section and we'll look for slider. Okay, so we have image slider for your home page. We'll go ahead and click on configure. Now in this section, we'll have the ability to configure some of the options for our front slider here, such as the maximum image width, the speed in which it slides, or the pause between each slide. We also have autoplay or not autoplay. We have the ability to change some of the pictures. Now, for example, if we look at this image right over here, we'll go ahead and click edit. And it's going to take us to the image. And as you can see, one thing that this image does have is it has some text. The text here has a shop now button, some description, a title. We have that description and title here. One thing that you notice here on the right hand side, we have a drop down which we could select each language. So for example, if we wanted to maybe modify this for the English language, we could type in here English. We'll go ahead and click on save. And now we want to modify this once again for, let's say, French. We'll just select French and type in French. We'll go ahead and click on save. If we refresh the front office, we're going to see that since we have the French language selected and we go to that slide, we have French in the very front. Now, if we go to English, we're going to have English. However, if we go to Spanish, we haven't configured that one. So that one's going to stay to whatever's in. So definitely keep that in mind, that many times if something is not available directly from the localization translation section, you could always go to the module that it belongs to and change that as well. Okay, so one last thing, just as a reminder, you could always go to the help button here. This help button is going to show you and explain all these options in great detail. Also, keep in mind also that the localization import does make this a lot easier for you. So definitely a lot of these things you will not have to do manually if you just import a localization pack.